A graceful Hollywood star, known for her poise and charm, finally opens up about a famous co-star who was both thrilling and tough to handle. That's right. Deborah Kerr, the elegant actress from classic movies, shared her honest thoughts about Burt Lancaster years after they made movie magic together. It was like pulling back a curtain on old Hollywood secrets, showing the real feelings behind the glamour. Today, we're diving into her story, full of ups and downs, love, and that big reveal. Get ready for a tale that will make you feel the excitement and the heartache. Deborah Kerr came into the world on September 30th, 1921, in a small town called Helensburgh in Scotland. Her real name was Deborah Jane Trimmer, and from the start, she had this calm, special way about her that made people notice. Growing up in a loving home, she loved to perform even as a little kid. She started out learning ballet, dancing with all her heart, but then she switched to acting after going to a drama school in Bristol, England. That choice changed everything for her, turning her into a star that shone around the world. In the early 1940s, when World War II was raging and life was hard in Britain, Deborah stepped into movies. Directors saw something special in her, a mix of beauty, smartness, and a quiet strength. She got her big break in films like Major Barbara in 1941 and The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp in 1943. These roles let her show she could play all kinds of women, kind ones, tough ones, and even those with tricky feelings inside. She wasn't stuck in one type like some actresses. She brought real life to every character, making them feel alive and true. Soon, Hollywood called her name. By the late 1940s, she was making American movies, often for a big studio called MGM. They loved casting her as the perfect lady, elegant, smart, and strong on the inside. In Black Narcissu, YS. From 1947, she played a nun dealing with big questions about faith and wanting things she shouldn't. It was a powerful role that people still talk about as one of the best in British films. But Deborah wasn't just about serious parts. She could surprise everyone. One of her most famous moments happened in From Here to Eternity in 1953. There she played Karen Holmes, a woman full of passion who was married but fell for someone else. It was a big change from her usual proper roles. The scene where she kisses Burt Lancaster on the beach, with waves crashing over them, shocked people back then. It was bold and romantic, and it made her a legend. Working with Burt pushed her to take chances, and it paid off in a way that fans remember forever. Through the 1950s and 1960s, Deborah kept amazing everyone with her talent. She became a favorite worldwide as Anna Leonowens in The King and I in 1956, opposite Yul Brynner. With her tall queen-like way and warm heart, she was perfect as the English teacher in Siam. The movie is still loved by kids and grown-ups alike. She also shone in Tea and Sympathy that same year, handling tough topics about how people judge each other. Then there was Heaven Knows Mr. Allison in 1957 with Robert Mitchum, a sweet story set in war times, and The Innocents in 1961, a scary old-fashioned tale that showed her skill at building tension and fear. Deborah got nominated for the Best Actress Oscar 6 times, but she never took home the big prize during the competitions. Many fans think that's one of the biggest mistakes the Oscars ever made. Still, in 1994, they gave her a special honorary Oscar for all her amazing work. They called her an artist full of grace, beauty, and dedication, whose movies stood for perfection, hard work, and class. It was a beautiful way to honor a woman who had given so much to films over the years. Now, let's talk about her personal life, because behind the screen, Deborah had her own joys and struggles. Her first husband was Anthony Bartley, a brave pilot in the Royal Air Force who fought heroically in World War II. They got married on November 29, 1945, right after the war ended, in a happy ceremony full of hope for better days. He was a hero, and she was becoming a star. It seemed like a perfect match. Together, they had 2 daughters, Melanie Jane, born on December 27, 1947, and Francesca Ann, who came along on December 18, 1951. Francesca later married an actor named John Shrapnel, connecting Deborah's family to more acting talent in Britain. Through that, Deborah became a grandma to 3 wonderful grandsons, Lex, who acts on stage and screen, Tom, another actor, and Joe, who writes scripts for movies. It was like the family's creative spirit kept going strong. But even with all that love, her marriage to Anthony faced hard times. Her growing fame and success made him feel jealous sometimes, even though he was proud of his own achievements. Plus, her job meant traveling a lot and being away from home for long stretches on movie sets. That distance wore them down, and no matter how much they cared for their girls, they couldn't fix things. After almost 14 years, they divorced in 1959. It was sad, but it opened a new chapter for her. Just a year later, on July 23, 1960, Deborah married Peter Viertel, a writer and screenwriter born in America. He was known for his books and Hollywood scripts, moving in circles of smart, artistic people. Through him, she became a stepmom to his daughter, Christine, and they built a close bond. This marriage felt different, more like true friends who respected each other, though it had its own ups and downs too. In her later years, Deborah and Peter split their time between 2 beautiful places: Klosters in Switzerland, a peaceful mountain spot loved by creative folks and even royals, and Marbella in Spain, a sunny coastal town full of glamour. It was a fancy, worldly life after she stepped back from the busy Hollywood world. But as she got older and her health started fading, she wanted to be near her daughters and grandkids, so she moved back to Britain. Peter stayed in Marbella, but their love stayed strong. He was by her side until the end, and their marriage lasted nearly 50 years. For so long, Deborah Kerr was seen as one of Hollywood's most classy and private stars. She had this elegant way that made her stand out, and she kept her thoughts close. But she had stories from working with huge names, like the strong and sometimes wild Burt Lancaster. Their big team-up was in From Here to Eternity, a movie that boosted both their careers and became a classic. Years later, when she talked about that time and her feelings toward Burt, it surprised a lot of people. Some were shocked. Others nodded like they knew it all along. Deborah didn't hold back. She spoke with real honesty, something rare from her. She said Burt was different from anyone she'd acted with before. He was bold, full of energy, and had this huge personality that took over everything. That power made him exciting, but it could also be too much, hard to deal with at times. For someone like Deborah, who was all about control and grace, his wild side was both fun and tiring. Their on-set vibes matched the hot, messy love of their characters, full of fire. She talked about how Burt had 2 sides. Folks saw him as a rough, tough guy, but he was smart and cared deeply about acting. Still, he didn't always know when to pull back. He pushed hard, not just on her, but on the whole team, sometimes past what felt okay. This showed a part of Burt that whispers in old Hollywood stories hinted at. His drive could clash with others, even pros like Deborah. That famous beach kiss? It looked so perfect on screen, but Deborah said it was tough to shoot. The waves hit harder than planned, sand got everywhere, and Burt wanted take after take until it was just right. She felt worn out, like she could barely catch her breath. But in the end, it became something magical that people still love. She was pulling back the shiny cover to show the real sweat and feelings behind movie moments. But she didn't just complain. Deborah admitted their spark was real. Even with the hard parts, something clicked between them that you couldn't make up. Burt helped her break out of her proper lady box. Before him, she was often cast as the polite Englishwoman, but he let her show a wilder side. He was brave, and he made her brave too. In sharing this, she showed how his strong ways actually helped her grow as an actress. Still, she didn't sugarcoat the tough stuff. She said Burt wasn't easy to trust. He had a quick temper and liked to be in charge of everything. You had to watch out, because he could snap fast. Sometimes it felt more like fighting than working together. This painted Burt as more than the hero he played. A real person with flaws, ambitious and hard to handle. Her most surprising words were about Burt off the camera. Everyone loved him, and he could charm anyone when he tried. But there was a hidden side, one that could be mean. He didn't let people get too close. Control was his thing, even in friendships. You had to be careful. By SAO, eyeing this, Deborah shone a light on old Hollywood truths. Under the lights and fame, stars were just people, full of dreams, mistakes, and sometimes pain. Her words came after years of keeping quiet, like a big sigh from someone who lived with grace. Even while sharing his flaws, she gave him credit. She said she never regretted teaming up with Burt. He was one of a kind, and what they made together would outlast them both. But he was someone she couldn't fully count on, and that was her truth. With that, Deborah finally shared the full picture of Burt Lancaster. The star and the man. As thrilling as he was tricky. Someone who shaped her path long after the film wrapped. Deborah Kerr left us on October 16, 2007, at 86 years old, in a peaceful village called Boatsdale in Suffolk, England. This quiet spot, with its old charm, was where one of movie's greatest ladies spent her last days. She'd lived a full life, marked by elegance, hard work, and deep talent. But toward the end, Parkinson's disease made things hard, slowly taking away her movement and freedom. Friends said she faced it with the same bravery she'd always shown. Her passing felt like the close of a golden time in films. Fans everywhere grieved the woman who'd starred in treasures like The King and I, From Here to Eternity, and An Affair to Remember. She brought smartness, warmth, and real feelings to every role, touching hearts across generations. Heartbreakingly, just 3 weeks later, on November 4, 2007, her husband Peter Viertel died from cancer. After so many years together, it seemed like they couldn't be apart for long. Peter was talented too, a writer who worked with top filmmakers and lived a life full of ideas and adventures. Their bond was built on respect and shared creativity, and his quick passing after hers added a sad, almost storybook end to their love. Deborah's story reminds us that behind every star is a real person with dreams, loves, and challenges. From her Scottish beginnings to Hollywood heights, through family joys and heartaches, and that bold share about Burt, she lived with heart. She showed us grace in tough times and honesty when it mattered. If this tale touched you, hit that like button to show your love for classic stars. Share it with friends who adore old movies. Let's keep these stories alive. And don't forget to subscribe for more emotional dives into Hollywood's hidden sides. Thanks for watching. See you next time.